All right, welcome back to Concept Pending, the Heroes and Villains podcast. We are here today with some super talented dudes, some guys that have been with us from the beginning. We got Greg, aka the Wolf, to my left. We got Dave, who has been with the company for a long, long time in a lot of different aspects, a lot of different product development. And then we got the other Greg from Heroes and Villains with us. And then, of course, Nathan to my right. So we got a full house today.
I get it, of course.
Yeah, of course. Of course, Nate had to be here.
Love it.
Yeah, just to oversee, make sure everything is kosher.
He's regulating me is what it is.
Oh, see, this is what Greg always accuses me of. The fact that you say, of course, and then you go, he has to be here to regulate. That's what Greg accuses me of every time I see him.
I'm looking at the
numbers. If it's been 3 months, he's like, he's the man behind.
I'm looking at the numbers you sent me, Greg's numbers you sent me just the other day.
Yeah,
He's the man in the
he can tell you all kinds of crap about yourself just on that computer.
I've seen it. Yeah, it's all numbers.
Yeah.
I love it. All right.
The man behind the curtain.
He's scary.
I draw stuff too, Greg.
I know. That's why I can't understand the charts. Math and art don't go together.
Math and art do go together.
One thing, the golden mean, but
right,
whatever.
Now we found the top.
One thing. Yeah, that's architecture.
We found the topic of this podcast will be math and art go together.
I do like to fry, I used to teach Photoshop at a community college, and I like to fry the students' brains on the first day, saying, how many of you went into graphic design because you don't like math? And everybody raised their hand. I'm like, got bad news. Let me explain how resolution works.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
True.
Yeah, measurements, yeah.
Okay, so if we want to go around and just kind of talk about like what each of you have done or maybe your background. I know Greg to my left, not Greg to my right, but
Greg Prime.
Yeah. Well,
the other Greg.
We'll call him the Wolf. How about that?
Wolf.
I like that.
Yeah,
okay.
Wolf.
So Wolf over here is an insanely talented illustrator day in and day out. He's over there on the table just drawing and drawing and drawing. It's incredible. And I know that a lot of you fans out there have seen his work. It's amazing. So Greg was with us from the get-go and created some awesome graphics for us on the very first collection that we created, which was the Battle of Endor, the speeder bikes, and
the Biker Scouts.
Yes.
My favorite. Speaking of his art, though, I'm still begging him for some of those original pieces.
Yeah.
I'm going to steal some one day
Just
when I go
got to bring
over.
them in and go through them.
The like stippling stuff?
No, in particular, that dang Biker Scout on the speeder bike that he did for those jackets that we had. That was an amazing piece.
Yeah.
That goes on my wall with the rest of my OA.
Yeah, that one was awesome. And yeah, so that was part of the very beginning. I think that was pre-AC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was before Heroes and Villains was actually kind of like formulated on its own, like independent design force and everything else. And we were all just kind of collaborating to bring it together. So yeah, I mean, honestly, actually, let's start with Nate. I'm sorry to pivot, Wolf. But Nate, you initiated, like you were at the head, you were at the forefront of this
tip of the spear
this drive, right? So I don't know if you want to expand on like where we were and where we why were we doing what we were doing?
Well, yeah, I think for anybody who's familiar with the brand, it's very hard to parse heroes and villains in Star Wars. Right?
True.
Star Wars is the origin story for us. And I think everybody at this table, such huge fans of Star Wars, right? Huge following, the biggest consumer products, right?
Yeah.
Like, brand on the planet. When we started working with them, it was like we've arrived, right? It was the moment where like we got there. And then we were immediately confronted with, because so much product has been done and there's such a long history, right, that reaches back to the original films all throughout the 80s. It's kind of unprecedented. None of the other properties or IP that we had worked with at that point had that kind of history. So that challenge of how you approach it differently and how you do it to where it doesn't feel like anything that's been done before, it was one of the most exciting things, I think, for us to take on.
No doubt.
Right? To be like, okay, cool. This is one where not only is the fandom there, but the fandom is diverse and they've got an appetite, right, to do some different things. And for us, where we entered the business at a moment when entertainment, was culturally, to wear it on a shirt felt like it was a kid's thing, right? And our whole point of view since day one was we're making it for grown-ups, right? We're making it for adults. We want to make it wearable. So that was to have Star Wars, right? This gigantic brand that every adult I knew at the time, right?
Yeah.
was like, I would love to wear Star Wars if it didn't look like it was, drawn for a 5-year-old.
If it didn't look like kids' bed sheets, yeah.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So that was really the precedent for it to say, all right, cool. How do we do something that is out of the out of the box there? We're not trying to chase trends so much as build timeless collectible products and icons. So this idea of building collectibles in a product category that nobody was really attacking, collectibles within,
Right.
Was a really fun idea. Collectible backpacks, right? When we went down that path, right, in that first Heroes and Villains product, that was the whole idea of people are going to want to get every one of these.
Right.
Whether they wear them or not, they're going to want to have them side by side, right? To show their Star Wars fandom in the same way that they would collect figures and never take them out of the box, right?
Right.
That there's something really cool about that.
And the timeless aspect where it's not, it's not just here now and gone tomorrow. It's like you always said, like if you discover it now, yes. If you discovered it 10 years ago, yes. 10 years from now, yes. Like it all fits.
We have folks that find that Rebel backpack today that are like, if they haven't seen it up till now, like, this is the greatest right?
This is it. Yeah.
Yeah.
When we started working with Lucas, it was also at a pivotal moment in their development because that was leading into the next 3 films. So we were we were right there when the hype was big, right, for Star Wars, because it had been since the 90s that anything had been, capitalized on within that brand, right? So like just right place, right time, and then figuring that perspective out was like key. And so then we formulated like what's our plan? How are we going to execute this? And then we've kind of talked about some of that in the previous podcast, was that San Diego Comic-Con was a huge thing for us, and that was through our relationship with Lucas. And Dave participated in some of that firsthand and saw how bananas that was.
Man, the pavilion's fun, bro.
It's crazy, right?
I loved it. I loved going there. I loved going to SDCC. I loved working those booths that we had, those mega builds full of, I can't even imagine the weight that we were moving to put that booth in there. We were building
the original,
an entire real wood. I mean,
dude, those things were so heavy.
They were massive.
Dude, I don't know what we were thinking or why. That was crazy.
But that fan interaction, like at the first and second one, where, I mean, look, we weren't Jason Momoa, but we were getting mobbed.
Yeah.
Kind of like,
yeah.
I mean, just because the product was just stood out.
Well,
so
and
hard.
I remember that first San Diego that you showed up, because you showed up like a day or two into it or something. Or
yeah,
like,
you were opening, I was closing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was there, and I remember meeting like you and the rest of the crew that had just showed up out in the lobby on the way in. I was like, I remember like saying to myself, I have to explain to these guys that it is bonkers the second you walk in here. I'm like, guys, just prepare yourself. Everybody's cool. Everybody's mellow. they're all having a good time, but it is 100% bonkers. And it was.
Yeah, it was. Very much so.
It's always, yeah.
It was awesome, though. I mean, those dudes, they loved it so much. That was the best thing to see.
It's inspiring.
For us.
Yeah.
You know, we nailed it.
Yeah.
We nailed it.
Putting all that work in and then seeing it.
We really got it because they're loving it.
Yeah.
Like we're loving it. So.
That's the whole point, right?
Yep. That is the whole point.
Yeah. And so then it grew from there. That was kind of like the early stages. And then I guess, what was that, like 2017 or something probably?
That first one.
Yeah. And then we showed up like full on, this is Heroes and Villains. This is what we stand for in 2018. And that's what all of us kind of collaborated on for that indoor piece.
That's a big moment because up till that point, you know, you're basically trying to convince everybody on the planet, no grown-ups want to wear this stuff. Like, it's cool to be a grown-up. And they'd be like, why do you think that? Because I'm a grown-up. I think I am.
Because I look like one.
I like this. I want to wear this stuff, right?
I remember in the 80s, DC Comics had a slogan, comics aren't just for kids, right? So it's been something that the whole geek, audience has been pushing back on for like decades.
Well, dude, like Comic-Con in general, that is what that is, right? It's not for little kids.
No.
It's for adult nerds to go nerd out.
Absolutely. Yeah. And drag my kid with me.
Yeah. Be like, this is cool.
Whether he wants to or not. Luckily enough, they want to. They've fallen in love with my loves. Y'all are just reminding me that I'm missing New Comic Book Day right now, so thank you very much.
Sorry, Dave.
I like the idea that at Dave's house, he's in the room by himself playing with his toys, and the kids are like, you gotta leave Dave in there so he can play with his
Well, it's only because they've been kicked.
Your room, Dad.
It's only because they've been kicked out too many times for playing with them the wrong way.
You're doing it wrong.
You're not setting up the base right at all.
Leaving your flank exposed. Cobra Commander's going to know to send them, right? Yeah.
And the AT-AT's quadrupedal. He has to move as such.
Yeah.
You can't put the two legs out in front. He's not doing the stretch.
Did he say quadrupedal?
He did.
Yeah. What the hell is that?
I don't know.
It's a quadruped.
Quadruped, yeah.
Quadrupedal.
I don't know if that's a word.
Yeah, that's a functioning quadruped, right?
You're a bipedal.
Bipedal? I have no idea what you're talking about.
2 versus 4, bro.
Yeah, so Dave, your background, you want to share?
I started early on in headwear. Moved over to apparel after that. I've been doing a lot here. And then, the Heroes and Villains thing was probably right after I joined the apparel team. And just collaborating on that was a lot of fun.
You want to hear something crazy with Dave?
Yeah, I definitely do.
Dave and I, we might as well be brothers because we worked in the same building way longer than I lived in the same house with my brother growing up.
That's crazy.
Right? Like we probably lived together for 18 years before we even started Heroes and Villains, right? Like,
yeah, pretty much. We got attacked by termite swarms together. That old building was busted.
Yeah, it literally had a tree growing inside of it and that was right behind your little workspace there.
Oh, yeah. In the second building, we had
talking about the first.
Harry Hines, we had a termite swarm. On Walnut, we had literally a tree growing up through the cracks in the
yeah. There was like an ant pile.
I think there was a major ant pile in there, as well. I think Matt would water the tree, to tell you the truth.
Yeah,
I don't know if he put any Miracle Grow in there, but it seemed to grow pretty fast.
We started from humble beginning. We started in the most humble way, and
absolutely. And I think that's kind of what the appeal is that, it still is humbling, right? Like, think that the whole, general vibe of, entrepreneurial, figure it out, if you want to do something, you can do it, but you have to justify it and figure it out and like show,
Yeah, but as soon as you justify it, you can run with it.
Yep, which is crazy. Like a lot of people, a lot of places.
When folks ask about the culture and how to describe what our culture is, I say we are trailblazers in the way we're on the Oregon Trail always, right? We're headed out there. And if you're the type of personality that wants to sit in place, you are not going to survive, right? You are going to get left behind. If you're not willing to learn new skills, learn how to hunt, learn how to fit right, like do all those things, you're going to have a hard time because it is always evolving, always moving, and we don't always know exactly where we're going to land. We just know we're headed west, right?
Exactly.
Like that is 100% the culture. And that's where you can see the folks that struggle or have a challenge are the ones that are just wanting to hold position, right?
Right.
They're like, no, let's just do this one thing and keep this one thing just the way it is. We've got to always be moving, always in a way that you're growing your skills and your skill set and you're sharpening it and making it better.
Well put.
And I guess the other metaphor within there is if you're going to the Oregon Trail, you're not going to make it alone.
Yeah.
There ain't no way, right? You have to embrace everybody that's around you. You have to learn what they're good at and draw it in. I think like with Greg, day one, you said, this guy can draw like the patience to stipple that Greg has is something that
I wouldn't really call it stippling. It's a whole other process. It is the most methodical stippling I've ever watched in my life.
I had to do a stippling project in high school, and I only had to do it for one day. And I couldn't stick to it. I couldn't do it. And Greg, he just like, all right, cool, I'm doing this. I'll do it again and again.
I have mental issues.
Oh, okay, that helps.
Copenhagen and mental issues. I forget I'm even where I'm at.
Hey, have you guys ever watched him do one of the stipples? Like live? Like sat there and watched him do it?
I've like passed by and seen him doing it and been like, oh my God.
You could create an entire ASMR video out of
like our own version of Lo-Fi Girl or something?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that could be a thing too, but you could literally create an ASMR video out of him. The methodical slow dot way that he... Yes.
Close up.
The close up of watching the pencil go.
And then pan back. Oh my goodness. It's on, dude. It's on.
Take Greg doing that for 10 hours and then slow it down half speed.
Sure, you'd have 3 days worth of content.
Yeah, and you get just the echoing sound of each stipple.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome. I'd watch it.
And there is John.
My daughter would watch it. She loves those.
All right. So what's the next project, Greg? What's the video?
Anything you want, man.
What's a portrait that you haven't done yet for Star Wars that we need to do?
There's a list, actually.
Yeah,
there is a list. I'm sure that list grows.
It's just been sitting there.
Yeah, I've started on it, so
have you?
We just need to pick it back up.
All right.
Let's
go.
Time,
Right.
Yeah.
What's your favorite though?
Man, I'm Darth Vader all the way.
You haven't done Darth Vader?
Yeah.
We did his helmet.
No, we did the Luke in Vader's helmet.
Yeah, we did the damaged Vader helmet. It was amazing.
Sick.
I want to see him, not the skull, but like a mythosaur, like a legit, not the skull, not the sigil, but like, that Bo-Katan ran into down there.
That would be sick.
That would be dope.
Okay, so Greedo, Bosk, those two were incredible. You did both of those.
Sand Trooper.
Yes, you did the Sand Troop or the Sand People. Tusken Raider, yeah. You did General Grievous.
That one was bonkers too. That was battle damaged as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you did Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw actually actor Rahul Kohli, who's been in a couple of Netflix horror shows by Mike Flanagan, was wearing the Darth Maul shirt on Instagram the other day.
Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, so some of you fans out there may, I'm sure, recognize Greg's art. When we did Celebration 20 1, I believe, was the first show after COVID. Our booth was wrapped in your art. We had like little frames, like little gold frame. Dude, it was so sick.
Stormtrooper was in that.
It'd be really cool one year you guys take him out to the pavilion. There's artist alleys that do commissions, right?
Right.
He could run commissions and do a couple commissions out there, maybe, or, at least make like 2 or 3, right? Because he's pretty methodical about how he does stuff.
That's pretty awesome.
He's pretty
idea.
dope to...
They have whiskey there, don't they?
I'll bring you. I can bring you some whiskey.
That'd be awesome.
So, I'm curious, how long does one of those take?
Some of them take 25 hours.
And that is...
Some take 12. The thing is, if you work small, you can do them faster, but you can't get all the detail and the shading the way you want. So if the bigger I work, the longer it'll take.
Right.
So,
but the better quality.
Yeah, I tend to work large as I can.
The more detail you can capture with
Darth Vader's a lot of black. You got to fill in a lot.
Yeah, well, the fill-in's easy. It's when it's the soft gradients that the whole thing ain't black. That's what takes forever.
Wait, you're telling me you're not stippling all that fill in?
Why would you stipple
I feel
black,
cheated.
solid black? No, I blend that in, yeah.
I mean, it's just perceived values, what we're talking about. It's, really.
Well,
comes down to it.
You scan it and it's going to, turn digital and it's all blackened up. So
Look, I'm going to continue to tell people that you stipple all that.
It is all stippled except little blocks I'll fill in.
Yeah, when it fades all the way to black, then it's filled in.
It's filled at that point.
Yeah.
You just get a bigger, thicker marker.
Leave Nate to his
Two, yeah, I got 2 sizes of
dreams.
Sharpies.
So, Greg, you want to tell us your background at all, or should we not talk about that?
You mean like work release or what?
I don't know.
How far back are we going?
How did you develop this outstanding, if not just the but the versatility within what you do in the illustration?
That when I was in school and they were getting us ready get a job, it seemed that the more you could offer someone, the better chance you had to get hired. So that's where some of the agencies that I worked at when I got out of school, they would have an illustrator style that they'd want to use on a campaign, and the client couldn't afford to pay for that illustrators. And so that's where I started mimicking styles and got diverse at working different things. And
so what's your like where were you in the beginning? What was your bread and butter before you had to kind of branch out specifically for career purposes or whatever?
I did a lot of branding and logos. That's where I primarily started. And then I always wanted to be an illustrator, but I had a family. And so illustrators usually either have an agent or they're living with their mom and dad until they get on their feet. Right. So I didn't have those options. So
yeah, don't get it twisted. As good an illustrator as he is, he's also a dope ass designer, and he's as meticulous as he is with his stippling, he's that thoughtful in his design work as well. How's it going to execute? What's the size of it? What's the technique I'm using? All the ifs and thens and then, all that stuff. He's super thoughtful about that stuff as well.
Yeah. So what else do we want to cover? Favorite brands to work on? You want to talk about any of that? I'm pretty sure I know Mr. Dave's.
Yeah, and I'm an open book, but an open comic book.
I think, yeah. It's Marvel, right?
Yeah, Marvel all day, every day.
Yeah.
Yes,
100%. Super Marvel fan. How about you, Greg?
Greg number 2. Yeah. Oh, depends, right? I like role-playing games, so I like D&D, but I'm also, a heart of hearts, it hurts me sometimes, a DC fan, right? Specifically Superman, but, what are you going to do?
I know you are a Superman fan. I was thinking you were going to say Star Trek.
I do like Star Trek. I love working with Star Trek because they're good to work with. It's easy to, iterate with them.
I think that was one of your first projects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, before I was brought over for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have Doctor Who?
It would be fun.
Yeah, that'd be
We
awesome.
used to have it. I don't think we have it right now.
Yeah, I don't think so. Nathan,
Uh,
do you have a favorite?
My favorite brand, this is because you get asked this question a lot. My favorite brand is whichever one I'm working on today. And when I say that, I am 100% sincere. Because in the way you just dive back into it, right? Like, if I haven't kept up with the Batman comics and I'm going to work on Batman, all right, I got to jump in. And that's like such a privilege that we have in this job
No doubt.
that you get to read those comics, and it is no lie, you are doing work also, right? Like, it's the most fun. So
Like re-immerse yourself into something that,
yeah, it's so cool to, like, if that's what you're working on that week, to just be like, I am diehard. I'm going to become #1 Batman fan this week, right? Yeah, learn everything about it. We get to explore those universes at like such detail, right? Just like razor sharp detail. I remember.
it's a trip
Yeah.
doing that because like what I always struggle with in that context is like it's so vast and it's so, there's so much. Eventually you have to come to a conclusion, right? Like eventually you have to pick a route and you're like betting the house on that route at that point. You know what I mean? That's what, like, that's a difficult decision, right? Like, cause there's so much in, like, you're wearing the Sons of Batman right now, right? That's just like this tiny piece within the whole idea, right? It's like, it's always a trip to dive into that much content and have to pull out just one.
What part of the lore are we going to focus on here?
Exactly.
Yeah. And there's always like one or two that you're like, I want to go back to that one.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, I'm already too far down this road.
I have my favorites. I'm a bit biased.
Yeah.
2 Scout Trooper lines.
Right. Let's go. Let's do it again.
Well, it's in the position I'm in now, right? I have a lot of context for that because I'm spending so much time looking at what are consumers actively talking about online, right? What are fans talking about? And also what are consumers searching for online, right? Like what are they specifically looking for in products that isn't served, right? Or isn't fed out there. And so it's just like a big list that you can prioritize, right? You can just say, hey, at this moment, right, the fandom within Jedi is at a huge peak,
Right.
Like there's a lot that can be done within there that hasn't been broadened and shaped out yet.
Yeah.
And when you hand that off to the design team and you say, okay, this is what we do. We find design solutions. We say, all right, what is it that folks are talking about they're looking for, and how would we do it in a new way? How would we do it in a way that serves that, right?
Right.
That customer.
All right. Well, what I'm talking about right now is I need something with Carrie Ann Moss because that Acolyte preview was
Sick.
I don't think I'm looking forward to anything more than that. I'm really excited for Deadpool Wolverine, but that trailer
It looks awesome.
insane.
The High Republic's a cool era.
Yeah. Super like Jedi focused. The scene where it's like all the Jedis together and like charging in, like, okay, let's go.
When I watched The Matrix the first time, I just assumed she was a Jedi to begin. I mean, she was doing all the Jedi crap in that movie. I was like, these guys are just Jedis. And now she is a Jedi, and that's amazing
awesome.
to me. I'm a big fan of her.
That's hilarious.
She's great.
Yeah, that does look pretty good.
It does.
See, I just watched it this morning. Did it come out yesterday, that trailer?
Yeah,
it was yesterday, yeah. So I watched it this morning, and I was like, I should really read up more about what's going on in the background of that. And then I thought, no, I'll just ask these guys. They know
I'll just
plenty
go to
of
my
what's going
Cliff
on.
Notes, guys. They'll fill me in.
So what you were talking about just a minute ago, like looking at the research and seeing like the search terms and seeing what people are relating to, that's a guidance, right? A lot of times because our development is so like far out, like you have to take bets on things that, like because we could look at 6 to 8 months, right? And some things that are relevant and trending right now, we could be late and be dropping at the wrong time as that's falling off or peaking, right? So like there's a whole nother aspect to that data that you're talking about sifting through that's like, this is what's now, but what's next type of, you know, perspective, I guess. I just had that thought as you were talking about that. Like, yeah.
Like, speaking of that, are there any brands you guys haven't had a chance to work on or would like to work on that, like, you just really want to get your hands on?
Vampirella.
That's fair. I get that.
Love Vampirella.
I'm talking about, like,
He's been consistent in this. He said it for...
Get it, man.
you talking about like the old Warren comics art or like more contemporary?
No, Warren.
That's fair, right?
I don't know. Dune would be a good one. That last movie was
Intense,
was pretty incredible. Yeah,
That costume she had was
beautiful. Yeah. But no, I'll always go back to different lore in Marvel. Like, I'll just pick another one. If I was gonna do something of my own accord, it'd be something with the Silver Surfer. He's number one for me. And then Symbiote Suit Spidey is number two. So I always will kind of fall back into Marvel space personally.
I mean, you excited for the Fantastic Four? Because I've heard rumors that they're going to cast Silver Surfer.
Yeah, they're working on it. I mean, there's a whole bunch of rumors going on around that they cast a female to be Silver Surfer was one of them. I'm excited for Pedro as Reed Richards. I've seen a little bit of backlash because everybody wants Krasinski, but I'm like, man, Pedro's going to be dope.
Yeah, dude.
But yeah, no, I'm super excited to see what they do there. I want Galactus to be Galactus and not a
cloud.
Weird cloud beast. Yeah.
I'm on board with that for sure.
But yeah, I'm super excited because, the one redeeming quality of Rise of the Surfer was the Silver Surfer in that movie. He was awesome.
Well, and I feel like in those two Fantastic Four movies, Chris Evans was fun because he got the joke. He's like in a different movie than everybody else.
Man, you said Superman earlier, and I immediately this is like a long held thing of Superman should be bigger in merchandise, right, in products than it is because it's the Shield, and then everybody's like, I don't really know, right? I don't want to put the character of the figure on it. Like, there seems like there's so much
you could do. Like, okay.
Here we go.
I gotta say it. Superman's like the biggest superhero in the world. Like, here's the thing. Yep. That shield only means Superman. The bat could be Halloween. It could be Dracula. It could be Batman. A spider could be like, Spider-Man. It could be a warning sign. But that S only means Superman. When someone wants to make a parody of a superhero, right? It's almost always Superman, and it's always that like Pentagon shape with some other letter in it. They're not called bat heroes; they're called superheroes, right? And it's because the whole genre is named after him and is a reaction to him. Anyway,
well, there's no doubt that like as a child, right? When I was a kid and into Batman, Superman, G.I. Joe, He-Man, all those things, Superman was a superhero. Like, he was the superhero, like, ultimate, in my opinion. And like, just as a child, like, interpreting that stuff, it was like, oh, I'm Superman. Like, you can't mess with me. So I get that.
And I'm not saying other characters aren't valid. Don't get me wrong, right? I like, Batman and Green Lantern and, all those characters, but, yeah.
If you said you gave everybody, what superhero would you like to be? What powers would you like to have? I mean, universally, everybody goes, well, look, I can concede maybe my personality I want to do, but Superman. Superman is, right? He's got everything.
Flight, super strength, and vulnerability, those are in the top, this is like top 3, top 4 for sure, each one of those sets of powers.
I just worked on a project where they pitted Superman against Goku.
Oh,
that's a long ongoing. I don't know if we want to go down that avenue.
Well, I was just curious. He's such a.
I mean, which one? Who? That depends on who's writing it, right? That's Stan Lee's answer. It's like, who's writing it, who's supposed to win,
because each writer has their different strengths and weaknesses for each character.
Now, so which iteration of Superman? Pre-crisis, it's not a contest. Superman wins. Post-crisis, probably Goku. Probably.
The version they had me work from was Rebirth.
Then probably Goku.
Whatever.
If it actually is a knockdown drag out. Man,
Whatever. Hulk
my thing about
smash,
that is
bro.
always Hulk can't fly. So, like, I don't
Doesn't matter.
understand. I don't
Dude,
understand.
He can like
The dude, as soon as he lands, he gets
can.
back up. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but he never has to come down is the thing. You throw him into orbit and then, like, he's flying and tumbling and you just smack him over and over, further and further out.
Don't let him get a hold of you.
Well, fair. But, like, you know, I saw someone wrote an entire physics paper that was trying to explain Superman's powers, like, with one unified power, and it was control of momentum. Anything that he's in contact with, he can control its momentum, which that's how he gets his heat vision, is because he can control the molecules in front of his eye and makes them rub together. And
kind of feels like a Jedi controlling the Force.
kinda, I suppose. I mean, Superman's like, 50 years older than a Jedi. So if we want to go there, then
Oh no!
yeah.
We're already
be
headed
fair-
down the rabbit hole.
Superman is basically just swiped off of John Carter of Mars by Edgar Rice Burroughs. It's an inversion. Like John Carter of Mars goes from Earth to Mars and basically gains Golden Age Superman's powers, and Golden Age Superman comes from Krypton to Earth.
Okay, so here's the important question.
Huh?
What is the Superman gear that you don't have today?
That I
you
would
would
love.
Yeah, like what's the take on it that makes it work? My instinct is I want to create a Krypton collection, right? Like that it's really representative of what they can't all be wearing cloaks all
Of
the time,
his
right? Like
origin.
yeah, like that you're more celebrating the planet of Krypton in a way, right? And that because of the symbology, right, including the
Well, and then they have
would be-
there's an entire like language you can use. It's a Caesar cipher, but it's still like you could use it to compose graphics, and then people could like decipher it to figure out what it says.
You could do Krypton, but if you wanted to live in today's world, since Krypton is bye-bye, you could do a greetings from Kandor line.
Yeah,
That would incorporate all of that cool stuff. Might be kind of dope.
I love this idea because like,
Fortress of Solitude.
Solitude, yeah.
there's got to be some punk kids like a graphic tee has to exist on Krypton, right? In all the long history of Krypton, it has to exist at some point, right?
I saw something interesting. Like in most escapist media, so like science fiction, fantasy, superheroes, all that stuff, what you don't see is pop culture for the most part. You don't see them watching TV shows. You don't see them reading books, really. You don't see, mind you, they're too busy to.
I was going to say the one thing that when it comes to that whole Krypton side that nobody's ever really dove into, which actually comics are diving into right now, is Zod. Kneel Before Zod is incredibly well written and getting a lot of really, really good critique right now. And all those houses on Krypton, they all have their own
Like
insignias, yeah, their own shields. So it's kind of like you could explore the different houses of Krypton, starting with Zod's house.
Zod's pretty punk rock.
Zod is the funny thing is, what's her name? Fiora in this series. I don't know if you're reading it.
Read about it. I haven't read the.
Like she's choking Zod out, telling him, "You're forgetting who the hell you are. You're losing it." And she's dominating that dude right now, trying to smack him back into his ways. It's really, really well done. But yeah, I mean, just the way they're touching on those characters, like nobody has ever really touched on before, kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Touching on Krypton in some way that nobody's ever really, like nobody's done anything with the houses of Krypton. And there were major, powerful houses with a lot of great backstories to them.
That is absolutely like the recipe, that kind of secret handshake of like, you see the jacket I'm wearing and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For
Right.
sure. Yeah, that's absolutely.
I know what you're right.
I mean, you see somebody walking down the street with a House of L symbol and they pass somebody with Zod symbol and they're like, they're going to side eye each other real hard.
It just depends on my mood out of the day.
True.
I'm going to rock them both. Yeah.
So, Dave, I know you're a collector.
I am.
Right?
Very much so.
We actually had a video, you and I, at one point. Do you recall?
The Dallas Toy Store?
Yes.
Yeah, I love that trip, man. I was drooling like crazy, boy.
Dude,
I
that
hadn't
place
been there.
is incredible.
I hadn't been there to that point. I'd always wanted to go, so I loved the fact that you invited me to that.
Yeah.
Because,
Well, so
That
do you
story's
still
amazing.
do you still have your Rancor? Because I know you were talking about you fed all the.
Well, yeah, no, I don't have it. I had them when I was a kid, and I was looking at buying one when we went that day, and I was jealous of whoever won the Rancor in that contest we had. But yeah, I used to feed all of G.I. Joe went into there. Everybody went into the Rancor ate everybody. There was no
'Cause he
Gumby.
should. Yeah. There's zero discretion in what the Rancor.
Zero discretion.
Yeah, what he eats.
Yeah, for sure.
Like a shark, you open them up, you got license plates and tires and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do very, very clearly remember because I had Gumby and Pokey. And Rancor was holding Pokey and Gumby his feet were sticking out of the Rancor's mouth.
Nice.
Yeah, for sure. Had a lot of fun with it.
What were your toys?
I was just thinking I had a Dungeons and Dragons 2-headed dragon. that
Oh, yeah,
I
I
fed
remember
all
that
my
dude.
army men to.
Yep.
Nice.
That dude was dope. I remember that.
Yep. He ate everybody.
Yeah, currently my prized possession is a mint on card symbiote Spidey Secret Wars from the 80s.
Nice.
oh wow.
I'm very, very proud of that. And then I have, speaking of G.I. Joe from earlier, one of my other favorite characters, Snake Eyes and Timber. Yeah, I still have my action figure I have the card. He's not in his blister on the card, but I have the full card and him and all his Timber and all the accessories.
Yeah, I
They're in
have
a case.
I have mine. It's not in a case or anything. It's just in a box with all the others. Storm Shadow and Snake Eye,
Yeah.
both.
The rest of the stuff is all in storage, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have probably 2 boxes from when I was a kid of my toys.
Yeah,
They sit in storage.
G.I. Joe was my jam
Yeah.
as a kid. Big time.
There's a store in Stonebriar, Jaden's Toys, and when you walk by the window, they have the aircraft carrier
Yeah.
set up. I always wanted that, but I never would have had anywhere to put. It would have sat on the dining room table. It was so big.
I had the Cobra base. The
Yeah.
big, round one with the little plane that came out of the center. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
It had like a little plane. But I bought that. I think I got that like secondhand from a garage sale or something like that.
Yeah, I had the Joe base from a garage, so I paid $5 for that bad boy.
Yeah,
I was only
dude.
missing like 2 parts, boy.
Bro.
It was awesome.
My dad was a big garage sale dude, and he knew, if he found G.I. Joe, it was coming home. The other one prior to G.I. Joe was Masters of the Universe. And I have this memory of just like, I don't know if we were like at a Target. I don't even know if Target was like that prevalent back when I'm an old man. Like I don't know where I was. It may have been like a Kmart or something, but I was with my dad walking around and I saw Skeletor's castle and I was like just gawking at it. And my dad just randomly bought it for me. And I was
Oh
like,
wow.
what the hell is happening right now? Like you seriously bought, like that never happened. Like that was not a thing. It was like, I told you he goes to garage sales and buys me toys,
Yeah.
right? And then he buys me Skeletor's castle, like at the store, brand new. I was like, oh
Do you have the
my
perspective
God.
now as a father to try and look back and go, what was going on in my dad's head? And
Right?
he was like, I have to buy him.
Did he drink?
Yeah. He drank.
That's what I do. I get hammered and go buy my kids collectibles.
Blasted, go to Kmart with my 10-year-old. Zero
like-
seatbelts.
Yes, sir.
Greg's like, my sons have 10 of those.
He's like, oh, that is pretty cool. That's cool. Yeah, let's get that.
Yeah, he bought them at Kmart. Once Amazon came around, and you were like, oh, shoot, now you can't stop anything.
Yeah, it was full on impulse. And then I also remember being like sick with strep throat and them trying to cheer me up by buying me G.I. Joe characters. That was my jam. That and Star Wars, obviously. Yeah, so why do you like Tobey Maguire so much, Dave?
What? Who said that?
What in the world?
Where'd you read that?
It's Seabiscuit, isn't it?
I mean, that's the notes I have.
I don't
is
know.
that
I don't know who wrote
Dave's
your notes.
favorite Spider-Man is Tobey Maguire.
I will tell you right now that is not my favorite Spider-Man.
Oh, well, I don't know where this information came from.
Not Nicholas, what's his name from the 70s?
No, he was good. He was a great Peter Parker.
Okay.
When it comes to the Spider-Man movies, and I actually just did this with my son the other day. He's a big Tom Holland fan. But he's also a fan of Garfield. And I asked him, take 3 things: Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and Power Set. Now, what are your favorites according to the 3 actors? And immediately he was like, oh, Garfield Power Set. Right out of the gate. Garfield Power Set. And I was like, the Power Set? And he was like, yeah, for sure. What he could do was more, I think just the way Garfield was able to move was more, what you would recognize, like the crazy McFarlane poses that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Garfield has probably a little bit more flexibility to get into these kind of positions. But as far as like Spider-Man and Peter, he's Tom Holland all the way. And I actually was like, Holland for Parker. I thought he was a great Peter Parker. I loved Garfield as Spidey because of the attitude that he brought. I didn't really like that because he carried that attitude into Peter as well. And I wasn't a huge fan of that. But I was actually a Maguire Power Set fan because I saw him do more, not because of the dancing. Doug, it wasn't the dancing.
I figured that was the reason. But obviously.
No on the dancing. And then because he, also took on some of those Venom powers for a minute, which to me exponentially boosts the power set of the character to begin with.
I feel like the problem with adding Venom into that movie was that it needed to be its own movie and not like shoved in with other characters.
Oh, for sure.
It needed more room.
And I love that 70s show, but I don't need Topher Grace trying to be Eddie Brock.
I feel like Eddie Brock needs to be beefier, just like a bigger dude.
Hardy did good. Hardy did a good job.
It was like a professorial breakdown of
I'm glad that we had
Spider-Man.
I'm glad we
of
had
his feelings on Spider-Man.
Well, the cinematic.
The cinematic, yes.
What's happening currently?
I felt like the Maguire Spider-Man, they were aiming more for like a Ross Andrew, John Romita look and feel then. Because like he was like kind of a little rounder and softer and didn't have the...
I think that's just who Toby was at the time.
That's funny.
That is funny. But yeah, it does, the resemblance.
Miles Morales.
Oh yeah, kid is amazing.
Dude. The first one, I mean, they're both great, but the animation was just like mind-blowing.
Oh, game-changing.
Yeah.
Game-changing what they did. I mean, it shows in the amount of work that they had to put into that, the amount of hours that they put into that. And
a lot of the thought that went into it, even the frame rates.
Was, for sure. And how they cut them down. Yeah, I mean, it's insane. I thought they did a great job. Yeah, and I really did think it changed the game for what we see. Like even that Turtles movie tried to emulate it in a way, and I think they did good. It didn't capture it the way. And then the story there was awesome.
Yeah. I'm glad you approve. Because I know you would be a super critic. You're always a super critic. I know, like...
Yeah, I can't be.
Yeah.
Don't get me started about Doctor Strange in the Mouth of Madness.
I know you had some hot opinions on the Star Wars films.
It did. Yeah, that last trilogy, I did.
So, I'm a Sam Raimi fan. I did enjoy the second Doctor Strange, but I could understand why it would drive a fan up the wall.
Well, you don't take the most powerful cabal of characters ever formed in the Marvel universe and wipe them clean in half a second.
Yeah.
You just don't do that. Reed Richards is not dumb enough to tell a villain
that can warp reality.
That can warp reality.
Yeah.
He's not dumb enough to tell that villain
what he's going to do and what's going to happen.
What the King of the Inhumans can do to them. It's just not. I like Sam Raimi too. I've always liked, Sam Raimi ever since way back Army of the Dead and everything. But yeah, there's choices in writing, including Maguire's dancing. that I just was never signed off on completely. I wasn't a fan of. One thing I was noticing was that you guys have y'all's Instagram has been followed by David Nakayama. That is a major
I didn't even notice.
cover artist in multiple universes right now. He's probably one of the biggest cover artists outside of like a Peach Momoko and stuff in the publishing world. That's really cool. And so I don't know if there's like, I know that one year, there was one year that I didn't get to go with y'all to SDCC, and Ivan Tao had stopped by. He's one of my favorite artists right now on the planet, him and Peach Momoko, but he actually stopped by the booth and like bought something, and like that was really cool to me. Yeah, so it's cool that there's actual artists following what y'all are doing.
I'll be honest, Dave, it sounds like what we need is for you to go to every con we go to and we put you up in a tower with binoculars and like a walkie-talkie. Be like, hey, he's there. He's right now. Right. No, the hat. No, the other hat.
I can do that. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, so we all kind of started this thing, and it became my priority to like move forward and own. But I sure miss like the start, and I miss working with y'all, and just this conversation right now and the knowledge of what we, focus on is something that's like really special to the brand. I know you guys are busy and y'all work on, other projects. But we'd always like to continue or, anniversary those collaborations. When we can.
I try to float you ideas every now and
Well,
again.
you do.
We listen every time.
That last one I sent y'all, if we could get him to do something for that Visions stuff, for the Ronin.
Oh, yeah.
Holy crap. I mean, he's working on a Skeleton Samurai thing right now. It's right adjacent to Ronin. But yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm actually upset that I'm missing New Comic Book Day, because the new series came out today. So I'm going to pick it up later this afternoon. But yeah, dude, that Takashi Okazaki is one of my favorite. He's another favorite of mine. He's dude that started like Afro Samurai and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He's doing the new series. He started the Ronin, but yeah, I think there's something with the Ronin to be done there.
I agree.
I would hope that just Lucas in general would expand on this character. They're probably waiting maybe to see what this series does, but I mean,
we messed with it on that first Visions.
Yeah, y'all put a T out.
And it was good.
That's good.
It did well. Yeah, I mean, it's a good call out. We need to revisit that. The more we can work together, in my opinion, the better. I'd love to have you guys back out at the conventions at some point, because that's just like the inspiring moment,
It's the juices flowing more than
anything, because you trap behind a computer in the office.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see it firsthand, and when you're there, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. Let's go. That's why we do it. So anyway, thank you guys very much for participating. And hopefully we'll have you back on at some point. Maybe we can talk about something totally different, but I doubt it. I mean, because it's, it's kind of like what we do.
Immediately.
But yeah.
Copenhagen jokes and
exactly,
comic book dissection.
Right. Or we could talk about coyotes and wild dogs.
I'm cool with that.
We can talk about motorcycles.
And motorcycles. Thank you guys. Concept Pending is a podcast. HeroesVillains.com. Check us out and follow us on Instagram, Heroes Villains Brand. Thank you very much. Talk to you next time.